Corey Haim of License to Drive and The Lost Boys stars with gorgeous Nicole Eggert, seen by millions on television's Baywatch in Blown Away.
Listen, there's this party tonight.
Sweet 16?
Does this look like the body of a 16-year-old?
Rich Curran has met the girl of his dreams.
Great sex is when you love someone so much, it's like you're addicted to the strongest drug in the world.
But beyond the beauty...
Do you know the Heimlich maneuver by any chance? Because if they keep doing that, one of them is definitely gonna choke.
Beyond the sex...
I couldn't bear the thought of losing you. I love you.
Is a temptation he can't resist.
Have you ever just wanted to kill somebody? I mean, really kill them?
If they find that he was murdered, they could tie up the inheritance forever. Even if they don't catch us, do you understand that?
Now, he's falling deeper and deeper into a world he can't escape.
There's a bomb in his bike. I'll be over tomorrow.
Where were you between 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. the night that Darla Hawks was murdered?
Trust me, Rich, this will all work out just like you said it would.
Do you really want to do some serious time for this girl?
No, I'm gonna stay in here and burn while you walk away with all the money, okay?
Why, you think I planned it this way?
Corey Feldman, Nicole Eggert, Corey Haim.
You know, Megan, I thought I met this girl. I thought we had something special.
You don't know anything, do you?
Blown Away.
Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review of the 1993 direct-to-video erotic thriller, Blown Away. Now, before I get around to sharing more of my thoughts on this film, I want to give a special shout out to Brock for requesting this review. And if there is another film, TV show, or topic that you would like to see me cover in the future, feel free to donate to my PayPal. The link will be in the video description down below. Now, Blown Away is one of those films that is a part of a genre that I'm not a fan of for the most part, especially when it comes to direct-to-video films from this genre, and that is the erotic thriller genre. I've always felt the erotic thriller genre, for the most part, from what I've seen, was not very erotic and wasn't very thrilling. And there are exceptions, but most of the time it's big budget productions that were released by major studios, like Fatal Attraction or Basic Instinct. But when it comes to a direct-to-video film, the majority of the erotic thrillers that I've seen have been really bad. They've been forgettable, they've been extremely cheap, low-rent, low-effort productions. Think porn, but with just a little bit more of a plot, and that's what most of the erotic thrillers have been. This, on the other hand, I felt had more going for it than the average direct-to-video erotic thriller. That's why I think it's at least a tolerable film. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's a masterpiece. I'm not going to say that it's an underrated gem. I can see why people aren't really that much into this film. I could see why people outright think this is a bad movie, because it is a very clusterfuck kind of film when it comes to the script. There are some elements of the script that I like. There's enough intrigue here. There's enough twists that definitely will keep you guessing. And I think it does a decent enough job with the characters to actually make you care about what's going on. But there's a lot of other things that just are confusing and muddled and aren't really thought out very well. So the film is directed by Brenton Spencer, and this is a guy who directed a lot of television work and seemed to be a guy who directed mostly episodes of various different TV shows. And despite the average output of a TV show director, I was honestly pretty impressed by his direction most of the time. I felt that it was very slick, it was very stylish, it was very polished. There were some really impressive shots in this, some really great tracking shots, some moments that really did catch my eye in terms of the overall ability of Spencer when it comes to his talent as a director. There's a great sequence at a party where it looks like it was done all in one take, and the camera falls around all these different party goers throughout the party. And there's a lot of other sequences that are similar to that kind of uh, technique that are showcased throughout the film. A lot of the action, when it is there, it's shot relatively well. The stunt work, a lot of that is definitely shot in a way that has enough going on and enough talent behind it that it really does get your blood pumping at times. And I just love the style that he chose for this film. It's very gritty. It's very noir-like at times. There are some shots that really do remind me of something that Walter Hill would have done in his prime, especially with all the different kind of lighting techniques that are used by the director. Overall, I think the direction is a definite highlight. It's not going to blow you away, but for a direct-to-video film, it's definitely above average. And I would say it is easily one of the best things about the film. The script by Robert C. Cooper, like I said, there's enough going on here that it keeps you invested. I think the writing for the cast of characters, for the most part, is pretty solid. For Rich, Megan, and Wes, even Cy, and even Darla, who is this girl who has this on and off again relationship with Rich, and it gets broken off because Rich has the hots for Megan, and the way that the character is written, you actually do sympathize with her, and it makes for a pretty tragic end for that character as a result, because you actually do legitimately care about her. And I felt the dynamic in particular between Rich and Wes, the two brothers, I thought that was really well done. The conflict that those two have throughout the film was very compelling to me, and very realistic and raw. And the way that Megan is handled, I also thought was pretty good. She has this veneer of being this goody two shoes, this shy preppy girl who's got a rich dad, but there's something more going on with her. And throughout the film, you see a lot more of her personality, and you see more of the darker aspects of her psyche start to come through, and she really does come across as a legitimate femme fatale. I really did feel that she absolutely did seem like someone who could twist a lot of men around her finger. And she did a good job playing the puppet master for this film. And there were moments where you actually did kind of think that maybe she's telling the truth when she's clearly lying, because of how genuinely charismatic and sexy the character was. The rest of the cast, in terms of the characterization, it's fine enough. Cy was a pretty intimidating presence as Megan's father, an abusive asshole. The detective the detective who's investigating the case, I thought that guy was written pretty well too. I wish he had more scenes actually, because he had a good sense of humor. I like his no shit attitude. You know, he doesn't take any shit from anybody. I already mentioned Darla and how well that character was written. So, really where the script kind of falls apart, though, is with the bombs, because there's a lot of bombs in this in terms of explosives that Nicole Eggert's character uses to get rid of a lot of people. And it makes for a lot of fun explosions on camera, but it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense that some 17-year-old teenager is some bomb expert, and they never really explain anything in terms of where she learned her knowledge or where she gets it from, which would have been interesting. You know, maybe that was a hobby of hers. Maybe she knew someone that was into making bombs. I mean, you easily could have done something where her father was in the military or something, but they didn't even go that route, so they don't even explain it. You're just supposed to believe that she's some savant when it comes to making bombs, and that's a part of it that's a little muddled. And then you get to the investigation with the police, and that gets a little iffy at times. But it all leads up to a climax and a conclusion that I felt was bleak and pretty dark, but also relatively fitting to the overall tone of the story. And I was surprised that it ended the way that it did. There was a twist involving Wes that I honestly didn't see coming, and I thought it was handled pretty well. And when it comes to Megan, she definitely gets her just desserts in the end. I was really surprised at how violent her demise was. I mean, there's a lot of lead that gets pumped into her body at the end of this film. And it's shot in a way that's pretty brutal. It's pretty unflinching. There's blood squibs. It's definitely relatively satisfying when it comes to this character and her ultimate demise, because you're just waiting for this character, this manipulative bitch, to get her comeuppance. And I personally feel it was definitely worth the wait. Because a lot of the time, when it comes to this kind of character, and especially when it comes to a younger character like this, that's still a teenager, you're not going to see them get such a violent and realistic death. They're going to cut away from it a lot, but that's not what happens here at all. She just gets blown to shreds at the end of the film. It definitely does live up to the title, Blown Away. So, despite some issues with the script, overall, I think it's decent enough. Like I said, there's enough things going on, enough conflict, enough intrigue, that it kept me invested for the 92 minutes. And I also like the sense of humor. Like, there's some nice, fun lines of dialogue from characters in this. Most of the best lines go to Corey Feldman's character, Wes, but there are a few lines here and there for the other characters. The romance stuff, though, is a little clunky. That's one thing, too, that I thought wasn't really the best when it comes to the script. I mean, there's a whole sequence where they try to make a stuffed duck into some kind of sexy scenario, and it's just weird, and it doesn't work. It's not something that's gonna get a rise out of you. It's not very arousing. If anything, it just makes me go limp. But you know, other than stuff like that, and a few issues with the script in terms of the plausibility of things, and how things get a little too cliched at times. Uh, like I said, I thought it was a decent enough script. Speaking of decent, I think the performances are pretty decent as well. Corey Haim, despite the fact that he was clearly not all there, at this point in his career, he was abusing drugs a lot. And it's sad, but it's also reality. And apparently, even according to Nicole Eggert, he was strung out a lot on the set of this film. And there are some moments where you can tell, because his line delivery is really flat, and it comes across as if he's not really there energy-wise. And it makes sense, because he was high on drugs. So the sequences when he's not so high that he can barely even think straight, let alone get his lines delivered, he's fine. Once again, he showcases that inherent charisma that he's always had, and you ultimately do like Corey Haim. His character is kind of a dick. He's very selfish. He's very impulsive, but at the same time, I didn't mind that, because it was nice to see Corey Haim play a character that has those kind of layers, who's not like this really nice guy or trying to be a really likable character. Like, he has a lot of these traits where he's unlikable, but because of his charisma and because of the fact that Corey Haim was good at playing these characters, these young guys who are acting on impulse and have a lot of personality, I felt that he worked. He worked as a lead. And you really did, ultimately, by the end of it, you wanted to see him learn his lesson and figure things out and get his life on track. Nicole Eggert, I thought she was a good femme fatale. I felt that she really did handle a lot of the different aspects of her character well. And I would say it's easily one of her best performances. I'm not going to say that it's amazing, but it was a decent enough performance. And I felt for her it was relatively challenging because this isn't really the kind of thing that she was doing a lot of, playing these characters that have these different layers. But I felt that she handled all those layers well in terms of showcasing the facade of Megan being this shy, introverted, rich, preppy girl, but in reality, she's an extrovert. In reality, she knows exactly what she wants, and she's willing to do whatever she can to get it. And she doesn't care who's in her way. And there were times where she was legitimately, honestly, kind of chilling to me because of the fact that she was just so inside of her own head. Like, she was just so manipulative. And, despite the fact that she's playing a 17-year-old, which that was a really weird part of the script too, that she's playing a 17-year-old and there's this whole relationship between her and a 20-something-year-old played by Corey Haim. So that was kind of creepy. But then again, back in this time period, around this era, that was not really considered to be as taboo as it is today. And that's why I think the plot was the way that it was. But it is something that you look back in retrospect and that's a little, that kind of thing. But all of that being said, like, Nicole Eggert is absolutely gorgeous in this film. And definitely some serious eye candy. Corey Feldman as Wes Gardner, I thought he was easily the best performer out of the cast. I really liked his performance in this. I think it was one of his best performances that I've seen because of the different layers to it and how it showcased Corey's ability to play different kinds of characters. So he showcased the normal Corey Feldman ability that you see in a lot of films that he's done, the likable, happy-go-lucky buddy or brother who says these one-liners and is cracking jokes and so on. But then he also showed range, legitimate range, because there's a sequence where he's frustrated and he's angry at his brother and they get in a fight, and I thought that was really believable and raw. And then there's another sequence where he meets up with his brother in jail and he yells at him and he gets mad at him that he didn't go through with it and kill his father, kill their father because their father was abusive. And I thought that was a really good scene in terms of the acting by Corey Feldman. And then there's the different side that he shows in the finale and in the conclusion, where he is a twisted piece of shit who double crosses his brother and is going to kill his brother, and he's talking about how he's going to enjoy it. And I thought it was really a nice showcase of Corey Feldman's talents in terms of his range. And I would say when it comes to Feldman, this is definitely one of his best performances because of the fact that there's always different things that he had to pull off with this role, and I felt he nailed them all. I would say I wish that we had more of him. I would have loved to have seen him play a psychopath in this era in the 90s. instead of later on in his career where I don't think he was as talented or really. It seemed like he kind of forgot how to be as genuine and as authentic as he is in this film. Jean LeClerc as Cy, he was pretty intimidating, even though the line delivery was a little flat and stilted. I still felt that he was an intimidating presence. Like, I did not want to mess with this guy. And I did buy that he was dangerous, not only to Megan, but also to Rich. Kathleen Robertson, it was nice to see her. She was a character in Scary Movie 2. I think the character's name is, I think it's, is it Theo? Yeah, it's Theo. She was Theo in Scary Movie 2, and I really liked her in that. And this is a different kind of character, a completely different kind of character. And it showcased that she could play roles where she's playing more of a normal gal instead of like a bombshell like she was in Scary Movie 2. And she showcased her talent as an actress in this as well. And I definitely felt she showcased a lot of charisma and energy. And I thought she had some good chemistry with the rest of the cast. And you definitely learned to like this character and you felt for her. So when she shows up dead later, that is something that definitely does kind of stick with you. I also like Gary Farmer as the detective who's investigating the case. I especially liked his I don't give a shit attitude and how he's just it's just a role that I would have liked to have seen more of because I thought the actor did a pretty good job. But yeah, for the main cast, pretty good, pretty decent. I also thought the cinematography at times was gorgeous. I mean, there's a lot of shots in this that I thought were really impressive for a low budget. There's a shot of Corey Haim sitting on the edge of a cliff, looking over the ocean that I thought was a really gorgeous looking shot. There's a lot of shots of Corey Haim riding on a horse in a field that are also pretty well shot in terms of the cinematography, in terms of the angles, in terms of the lighting and everything. And the effects for low budget, I mean, a lot of it's done for real, like the explosions and everything. The stunt work I thought were pretty top notch for a low budget production. And the music by Paul Zaza, who's like a veteran of Canadian films. He's done a ton of them. It's nothing really that special, but it fit the film fine. And for a movie that's like 92 minutes, like I said, I never was really that bored by it. Even though it takes a little bit to get going. Like, it starts off with a bang and with a runaway car and an explosion and a lot of intrigue about what's going on. But then it becomes really just focused a little bit too much on the softcore porn elements with a lot of really long extended scenes of Corey Haim and Nicole Eggert banging. But once you get past that, then things start to pick up a little bit more when it comes to the intrigue, especially when Corey Feldman's character starts to showcase a lot of like really strange kind of tendencies. Like when he starts to show a lot of things about his character that are pretty sketchy. Anyway, I don't know what else to say about Blown Away, except if you're a big fan of Corey Haim and Corey Feldman, and you like to see them in a film that's a little different than the norm for them, I would recommend checking this one out sometime. If not, judge it based on the trailer. If it looks like something that might be worth a watch one night, go for it. If not, then it's probably something that you could probably skip. But anyway, thanks for watching my review, and as always, I'll see you later. See ya.